Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to explain why you should not take AP classes in high school. I made a little slideshow for the video, so let's jump right into it. For those that don't know, in the United States, students can opt to take what are called AP or Advanced Placement classes. These are classes that are more difficult than usual, and it shows universities that the student is willing to work hard and that they can handle themselves in a college class. As we're about you might think that, oh, if you want to get into the most prestigious university, wouldn't you just jam pack your schedule with as many AP classes as possible? And in this example schedule here, I chose the most brutal possible schedule I think that you can take in high school. And there's a lot wrong with it, as I'll go through in the next few slides. So let's start with talking about why they're not good. So first of all, AP classes are a whole year long. Usually in college, classes are a semester long, which are 16 weeks. So usually you would start in the fall you would start in September, and or in late August, and you would end in December. Whereas in high school, the class would last from late August, early to September, all the way until May or June of the next year. So if you take the class in high school, you will take longer to learn the same amount of material that you would in college. And in order to get credit for these classes, these AP classes, you have to take what's called an AP exam in May of the following year, and you have to have a high enough score to be given credit at the university you want to go to. Now, since the AP class takes place in high school teachers are assigned to teach your AP classes. You don't have any control over which teacher you have. It's whereas in and you have just one teacher over the entire year typically. So you have only one teacher, and the problem with that is that you only get one perspective on the subject that you're learning. Normally, you take multiple teachers each semester, or you take a different professor for each class each semester, typically in college, unless you're lucky, and one professor teaches multiple classes in sequence. And the next one here, AP classes meet 5 times per week with daily homework. So in high school, classes take place from Monday through Friday, and high school teachers usually assign a tremendous amount of homework, including lab reports and problem sets and quizzes, exams, and so on. So it's a lot more work basically than a college class, which we'll go over later. And that's one of the problems with high school teachers. When you take if you were to compare a high school teacher and a college professor, unfortunately, the high school teacher isn't as skilled at teaching, in my opinion, as a college professor. Teachers try to compensate for this by assigning a lot more homework for the student to practice and learn it on their own, and it's not as effective, I think, and it just adds unnecessary stress. Now, the next point I have here is that universities may not give credit for AP classes. So the expectation that students have is that, oh, if I take an AP class, I can get credit for I won't have to spend as long in university taking classes, but that's not necessarily true. So you may be doing a whole lot of work for a whole year and get absolutely nothing for it. And and the next point here, in those that do give credit, you may be at a disadvantage. So what I mean by that, I'll go with the most extreme example here to illustrate my point. So in grade 10 here, you take AP chemistry, for example, and let's say that you graduate high school, you get into university, and the university says, "Oh, okay, you took AP Chem, you got a 5 on your AP exam. Let's put you into organic chemistry first semester." So you take organic chemistry, and the problem with that is that you took AP Chem years ago in grade 10, so you may have forgotten a lot of material from then until your freshman year in college. So so yes, even though they gave you credit for it, you may have forgotten a lot of the nuances and details of the subject that will be necessary for your success in more advanced classes. And the last point I have here is that the other students are high school students. Now, what do I mean by that? The students in high school are less than 18, and you have to deal with a lot of tomfoolery, I would say. Um, you know, just normal kid behavior. Saying words as we're saying certain inappropriate we're saying who can say a certain inappropriate word as loud as possible, for example, or dealing with people that kick your chair from behind, or just random stuff. It's there are a lot more distractions basically in high school, whereas in college it's a much more mature audience that are taking who are your classmates. And the next point I didn't have room for is that high schools have the potential to be overcrowded. It's if you have a lot of students taking a class, you may have difficulty trying to get one-on-one time with your professor to answer questions. Whereas if you were to take the same class in college, you would have in a community college, classes are typically very small sized, and it's a lot more personal. It's easier to get in touch with your professor, I would say. So let's move on to the next slide here. Taking college classes in college. So let's say instead of taking the AP class, you were to take it at you were to take the same class at your local community college. So college classes are usually on the semester system. Only a handful of them, I would say, are on the quarter system, and that's when the class is like 10 weeks long. And they are cheaper than taking the same class at a university. Universities, you have to pay thousands of dollars in tuition, whereas in community college, it's more like hundreds of dollars. Now, this may or may not be a problem for you. But yeah, so the college class, it lasts only a semester, whereas in high school you have to take it for a whole year. So you can make a significant amount of progress academically in a much shorter amount of time. And my next point here is that college credit is earned without an AP exam. So that's very important. So if you were to take the college class, you just do the work, you take your exams, and you're done with it. Or like the midterm and the final exam, you don't have to take an AP exam and get a perfect score on it. There's less pressure, I would say. And also if you were to transfer to a university, then it's a lot more so the university has the potential to say, oh, we don't accept AP credit. However, if they see that you took the class in college, they say you have the potential to take a placement test, or and they can give you credit that way if they say, oh, we really want you to take the class here. they may make you take an exam and then you can get credit for it if you took the class in college. So it's a lot more. Universities are much more willing to accept college credit rather than an AP exam. Now, the next point here is that you choose the college professor to learn from. So in a community college, you have a whole list of professors and at different class times that you can choose from. This is unlike the high school where you have to have one professor or one teacher for the whole year. And this gives you a lot more freedom. You can go on ratemyprofessors.com and you can see what other students think about the college professor or prospective professors that you can learn from. So and you can choose the one that is most liked, for example, or that doesn't that teaches well. So if you were to take the class in high school, a college class in high school, you would be constrained to late afternoon or early evening, but still you would have a choice in most cases. And college classes meet 2 times per week with weekly homework, right? So in college, your class meets, for example, every Monday and Wednesday, or every Tuesday and Thursday, and you would have homework either do every Thursday, for example, or on Tuesday and Thursday. So it's there's a lot less work involved in rather than if you were to just do the class every single day and you would have an assignment to do every single day. It's a lot more stressful if you were to do it 5 times a week rather than 2 times per week. And you have a lot more time outside of class to think about and digest the material that you go over in class. So it's so there's that to consider as well. The next point here is that the vast majority of students are 18 plus. So this goes back to what I said earlier, that that your classmates in college are more it's a more mature audience, and there's less disruptions overall. And college classes are part of a sequence to a degree. So in this next point here, in high school, typically the most advanced class that they have in science, for example, is AP Chemistry or AP Physics C. And if you were to complete that class, say in your junior year, then in your senior year, you would have there would be nothing after that. You'd have to wait a whole year taking a whatever class and wait until you get into university to continue your study. However, if you were to take the class in college, you could there's always a next class to take. So, for example, you could so AP Physics C covers mechanics and electricity and magnetism. In college, you could take the next the third university physics class, which covers optics and modern physics, for example. So it's you don't have to take a break in your studies, basically, if you were to go to college. And my last point here is that colleges have more resources to help you learn. So in colleges, there's always a tutoring center or a calculus lab or a classroom that tutors physics, for example, that have TAs, and you can ask them questions, for example. Whereas in high school, I don't believe that that they have those resources. Usually, it's just the professor and a TA to help grade the homework. But yeah, in college, there's usually more resources to help you learn. Let's see, anything else I want to say? So, disadvantages of being in community college and high school. So, you would have to find transportation to after your high school finishes to go to college and then to go back home. So what I did, I started college before I could drive. So what I had to do was take the bus, and yeah, so that was a cool experience, I think. But yeah, and after my class ended in the evening, it was around like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. My mom would pick me up after class ended, and that's how I um, handled being in college and in high school. And yeah, if you are younger than 18, socializing could be difficult because everyone else around you is older than you are. So that that might make a that might make it an issue. But yeah, I didn't really I don't really think that could be a problem. I mean, but anyway, disadvantages: having more freedom could take getting used to. Right. So in this point here, there was one student I tutored a long time ago, and he was fresh out of high school and into college, and who just happened to reek of cigarettes. And he came to me, and he was having trouble because the professor was not assigning any homework, and he just didn't know how to handle studying on his own and to prepare for the exams and quizzes, and that's just something that um, you have to have control over your habits outside of class in order to do well in college. So if the professor does not assign you homework, you have to take it upon yourself to read the textbook on your own and practice the problems in the book on your own, and to check your answer in the back of the book. And if you don't see how to solve the problems, to go to the professor's office hour and get help that way. So yes, if you don't have control over yourself, it could be difficult. Whereas in high school, they give you homework, and maybe that's something that you need to succeed. But eventually, you have to get out of that because high school doesn't last forever. You have to go on to university and eventually uh, have habits to help you succeed. And my last point here is that you will have two workloads, right? So you'll have a life in college and you'll have a life in high school, and that could be difficult, definitely. Advantage. Okay, so is there anything good about the AP class? And the answer is yes. One is that you won't have to worry about finding a way to college and then back to your house after the class is over. So no transportation is necessary. And for classes that do last a year, you get more time to learn the material in the class. And assuming that your professor or that the high school teacher does not shove homework every single day, or is not excessive with the homework, it could help you build intuition much more than you would have in a semester. That's a possibility. However, the high school teacher would have to be a good one, I would say. And that's my last slide here. So yeah, so that's it for this slideshow. Let's at the end here, I just want to check to see. I want to see what some um, what classes the universities give credit for if you were to take the classes as AP classes in high school. So let's see. Let's start with Caltech here. Caltech AP exam credit. Do they give any for any AP classes? Please note that we do not grant credit for AP, IB, or college courses taken prior to enrollment. Wow. So Caltech is like, no dice. It's cool that you took AP Chem, AP Bio, AP Physics, C, but we're not giving you credit, so you have to take everything from scratch in college. And I mean, that's fair. I mean, Caltech, their problem sets are pretty insane, I've heard. So it's not for no reason that they don't give credit. So yeah, so that's Caltech. Let's have a look at MIT. MIT grants credit for a score of 5 on some AP exams. Let's have a look. If you take an exam more than once, only your higher score will be counted. Credit is automatically recorded. Okay. These policies are specific to class 2026. Okay. No credit is given for the AP bio exam. Wow, so even MIT. So it's like you dissected a frog and you spent hours every night writing lab reports. We don't care. So yeah, MIT just doesn't give credit for that one. Let's have a look for AP Chem. No credit for AP Chem. Wow. These guys don't. They want you to take the class at a. Yeah. So no credit is given for AP Computer Science. Ah, okay. So a score of 5 on the Calc BC exam will give you credit for the first semester of calculus. That's 1801. And you need a 5 of Calc on the Calc AB exam to take an accelerated sequence of Calc 1 and 2. Okay. So I believe Calc BC covers until the end of Infinite Series, which is second semester calculus or Calculus 2. So they only give you credit for the first semester of calculus, even though you got a perfect score on the Calc BC exam. That's interesting. So a score of 5 on both Physics C exams will grant you credit for 801. No credit will be given for the Physics 1 and 2 exams. Okay, so what this means is that even so Physics 1 and Physics 2 are algebra-based physics. It's or non-calculus, so it only uses trigonometry. So you have to have the calculus-based classes to even think about getting credit at MIT, and not all high schools offer both mechanics and electricity and magnetism. So, and you have to get a perfect score on both. So it's like, my goodness. And even if you do get a perfect score, they only give you credit for the mechanics class at MIT. So that's interesting as well. Other science exams. AP Environmental Science, no AP Stats either. Wow. Humanities and Social Studies. Score of 5 on English, History, World Languages. So it seems that those are acceptable at MIT. And no credit for AP. Yeah, so they said that before. Communication. Yeah, so that's it for MIT. Wow, so yeah, they don't accept the much like Caltech, but MIT has some classes that you could earn. That's AP Calc BC and AP Physics C. Let's have a look at I believe you can check it out yourself if you wanted to look for any university in particular. But yeah, so if you do apply, if you do take AP classes, make sure that the university that you want to go to will give you credit for what you've done. So some people have no problem taking a class again in university, but myself, for example, I like to make progress every semester because you're paying a lot of tuition money each semester that you're in university. So it's a pain to have to take something that you already learned before. So anything else I wanted to say? Oh yes. So in this video, I said that I don't want to generalize and say all high school teachers are not as good as college professors. Obviously, there are some amazing high school teachers, and however, in my experience, I liked a lot more of my college professors when I was in university, in college. instead of the high school teachers that I had. So there's so yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for watching.